Hi Nathan, how are you?
Hey, no, the man of the hour. Yes.
So, see now my video isn't showing. Oh yeah, here, switch it on here. That's it. So you
There
can
we
see.
go.
There we go. Yeah, yeah. Just
Yeah.
move it into center. That's in the wrong direction.
I just got
Uh,
back from I'm all I had my bio break. I think Aaron just went to go to the bathroom too. So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
we'll be
So
all
we'll
ready.
we'll
And
be
I don't
waiting.
know how much
Wait,
time you have
about
today.
about two
Like
hours.
about 2 hours?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, let's
yeah,
go,
yeah.
man. I'm so excited. I think so. Aaron and I, we just did a little pre-game
Yeah,
workout.
that works fine.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think what we both have arrived that we want to do is just kind of let the conversation flow and let you run it, really.
Well,
I mean, I'll drive the bus a little bit just
yeah,
for
yeah.
asking questions, but we really want to make sure we maximize the time we have,
Yeah,
what the
well,
value you have to
you
share.
needn't worry too much about the time, Nathan, because if necessary, we could do another session or whatever. We'll see how it goes.
Okay.
And yeah, so you gave a number of topics there in your note there this
Hmm.
afternoon, or well, it's noon for you.
Yeah.
It's evening here. Yeah,
I
yeah.
was up at 4 a.m. I was so excited. I was like, oh, I should sleep. No, never mind. I actually, I had a much longer list and I
Mm.
woke up in the morning to find my computer rebooted, had done an operating system update, and the
Oh,
notepad file with like 30 things, it's all gone. Oh,
ah, Lord, yeah, yeah,
but
yeah,
Aaron
yeah,
said
yeah.
maybe that's just a sign that it didn't need to be that structured and we can just free flow a little bit. I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah, yeah,
all
yeah,
right,
yeah,
I
yeah,
like that. Thank you for the attitude adjustment.
yeah, yeah. It's a co-creation anyway between all of us. So
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
see how it goes. I've spoken to Aaron before. We had this discussion there about sacred geometry. There,
Hmm.
there a while back. So I had sent you some documents there, Nathan, and there was
I have
a
them open.
there was a session or a video YouTube session there on harmonics.
Hmm.
Did that make sense?
It did. I have watched it 3 or 4 times now, and I
Yeah.
think after about 20 minutes or so, I feel a saturation point hit where I say, "Oh, I need to go back and rewatch." Hey, Aaron, she's
Hi,
back.
Aaron. How
Hello,
are you?
good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you too, Aaron. Yeah. How are you doing?
Fabulous.
Good, 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 good. Where are you now, Aaron? I think last time we spoke, you were in, was it North Carolina?
I was looking at, was wanting to go to North Carolina or Tennessee down to the mountains. They're called the Smoky
Okay.
Mountains down there. But I'm still here in Pennsylvania. I'm in Eastern Pennsylvania.
Okay. Whereabouts
Uh,
in Eastern Penn?
like
Where?
about an hour north of Philadelphia.
Oh, I see. Yeah, 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 yeah. Because my wife Rose has a lot of has family over there in Eastern Pennsylvania. She has a nephew in Allentown. Uh,
Yes, that's where I live in Allentown. I live in
oh, in
Emmaus,
Allentown.
right next to
Okay.
Allentown.
Oh, yes, yes, I remember now. I remember. Yeah, and
Mhm.
another nephew down in York,
Yes.
southeast corner, and then a
Yeah.
niece in just on the western suburbs of Philadelphia.
Yeah. Well,
So
let me know next time you're on my
yeah,
side
yeah,
of the
we
pond. Yeah.
certainly will. And we've been around that area quite a bit. Like Rose had a brother in Allentown, so we spent a lot of time over there. And
Awesome.
also in Nathan's territory, we were in was in autumn of 2023. We were over there for a wedding, so we spent 2 weeks in Seattle.
That's so
Oh,
funny. It's just
Yeah,
I was like, you didn't tell me.
I know, I know.
bummer.
No, I think the last time we spoke, Nathan, you were in Hawaii.
Yeah, most of my
Yes,
adult life I was in Hawaii. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So we didn't associate you with Seattle at the time.
Hmm. Yeah. I didn't
Yeah.
bother to mention it, so how would you know?
Anyway, we're shrinking the
Anyway.
distance between us all now.
Hmm. It's so
Mm,
interesting to me how
mm.
the parallels of how our lives like align
That's
at
right.
times.
Yes,
It's
indeed,
like,
indeed,
huh,
indeed. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
huh, maybe it's our codes
Mm.
and our templates and where that we need to be on the grids also
Exactly, exactly,
could be a
exactly.
factor. Who knows?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And you must have Irish roots, Aaron, with your name.
Yeah,
Yes, I
Erin
do.
McGuire is my maiden
Oh,
name.
McGuire, that's a good Irish
Hmm.
name.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Erin
Yeah.
McGuire. Yep.
Yeah.
yeah.
You could have more Irish roots than me, because
Maybe my father's side is Irish. My mother's side is Russian, Slovakian.
Slovakia. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
Slovakian. Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I've heard mixed stories about exactly where from, so that needs
Mm,
clarification. But
mm.
I think maybe what used to be Yugoslavia.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Like I've worked as an engineer, so I've been in a lot of those places. I've been around Slovenia, Serbia, Montenegro, and places like that.
I have not traveled
So
out of the state.
not
I would
yet.
love to. Well, that's not true. I've been to South America and Central America, but not
Good, good.
not that far. I'd love to.
Mm.
I have
Ah,
a
yeah,
friend in St. Petersburg that has invited me to come.
yeah. Ah, yeah, 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 yeah,
It'd be
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Are you still traveling?
No, no. Like we're in our 70s now. So no, we're slowing down as appropriate to our status in life. We used to travel a lot, yeah, but not so much anymore. Like my wife Rose is a US citizen, so we've spent a lot, both have a lot of relations in the US, so I've been around there quite a bit.
Yeah, speaking of
So
Rose, I think you sent me she did a podcast series with Marianne Calloway,
Callaway, that's right, yeah.
Mac.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good. It's so good.
Oh,
I
great, great.
recently re-listened to it because I found a link for it and I was like, oh, I think I only got halfway through. So I re-listened to the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is just such a wonderful example of polished, high consciousness knowledge distilled into just such a beautiful, sweet conversation. It's really, really
Yeah, yes,
wonderful.
yes, yes, yes. That's excellent. You should be glad to hear that.
Yeah,
Because they have they have a website and a Facebook group. I think they call it The Highest Road.
the highest road. That's what it's
Yeah,
called. Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah,
I'll
yeah.
take
Yeah, I've
notes
listened to
here.
it too. I enjoyed it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm,
When I do end up posting this, I'm going to put links to all of the stuff we reference. I need to
mm,
take a
mm,
note for that. But
mm,
in particular, Noel, before we begin here, I do want to point out that Aaron and I were talking about this earlier. Even when we're just looking through the information we have printed out and stored digitally, and like squirrels storing nuts throughout the forest, we have all of these pieces of information in different places. And when we
mm,
bring them up and say, "Oh, this diagram, this, I want to get the exact translation of this," it's a massive challenge often just to remember where we put it and to find it in an efficient point of time. And your example of the emerald24.org website,
Oh, yes,
in
yes.
my opinion, in my
Mm,
very humble opinion,
mm,
is one of the best distillations of an enormous amount of knowledge that is
mm-hmm.
distilled into a very, very wonderful elementary scale. And
Oh,
yeah.
well, thank you very much. Now, there's another another of those websites up, Nathan. I don't know if you've come across it. I've done a separate series called Fundamental Principles in Creation.
Is that on the same site?
No, it's a separate
Oh,
website.
okay.
The web address is creation-principles.org.
Oh, wow. Yay.
So that's sort of taking the information, stepping back a little bit from the information and trying to present it in a way that's more acceptable to ordinary people working in the scientific fields, in technical and scientific fields.
Okay. Is it .org or dot?
.org, yeah.
Okay.
Creation-principles.org.
Oh, I got it. It looks very similar. and the
It looks
format.
similar, yeah. The style and everything is similar, but the content is a bit different. It's treating some of the same topics, but it's looking at them more from a conventional point of view rather than from sort of a spiritual, esoteric point of view.
Oh,
So,
this is beautiful. Oh, I'm so happy. Aaron and I were talking about this earlier. I'm so
Cool.
Yeah.
happy
I'm
every
excited to be
time.
able to look at that later.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because like there are a lot of people out there searching, and like a lot of people who are not very comfortable with going deep into what they would see as woo woo.
Yeah.
But at
Yeah.
the same time, like they have like they're genuinely interested, they're looking for more, they realize some of the limitations of the systems they're working with, and they're keen to explore, and they're very open to discussion, but they don't have a framework for we don't have a common framework to communicate easily with each other. So it's an attempt to bridge the gap between science and spirit, as it were, and to make it a little bit more accessible to what I might call it normal people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Normal people.
Normies.
Normal,
Normies.
yeah. Well,
Also, what is normal? What does that
I
even
know,
mean?
I know. So yeah, so it's an effort to open the conversation out to a wider audience.
Mm-hmm.
Now that particular website is up for, it must be about, well, I suppose close to a year now, but I haven't actually pushed it very much. It's just sitting there.
Okay. Well,
So there
I'm
hasn't
about to
been,
give it a gentle push.
yeah. So
That reminds
so
me too, there's this book, it's called
first
First
principles
Principles and
and
First
for
Values.
values. That's right. Yeah.
And it is by David J. Temple, is a pseudonym of three
Mm,
different people, which
mm-hmm.
is Ken Wilber, Mark Gaffney, and
Yeah.
also Zach Stein, who are the Center for Integral Knowledge and philosophers, really.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
but
Mm-hmm.
this was written less than a year ago and published
Yeah.
less than a year ago. I have a housemate who is very interested in, contemporary earth science perspective
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
philosophy, but I've noticed that it's been a struggle for us to communicate. And this is mirrored with a lot of people if they're not willing to dig back deep and let go of, if they're attached to certain forms of, let's say, scripture, or what
Indeed.
does
Indeed. Mm,
spirituality mean, it's
mm,
really, really jarring. So I
yeah. Yeah.
appreciate in this creationprinciples.org or books like this, where it's talking about a greater picture framework that makes
Exactly. Yeah.
the experience more gentle, rather than,
Mm.
wait a minute, I'm not willing to accept non-human intelligence at all in my paradigm yet, for example.
I know.
Yeah.
Unless I can put my hand into the wound, as it were. Like
Uh-huh.
doubting Thomas.
Right. Yeah.
In other words, like there are a lot of people who won't accept things unless they have sort of tangible proof, tangible physical proof, tangible physical evidence. So it's that particular project. It's an effort to to try and identify the principles and try and present them in a way that makes them a little bit more accessible to people who are coming from a very conventional frame of mind. Like if you look at the whole academic world, for example, if you go into any universities, like you'd see a campus full of these massive buildings, and every single one of them, they're all inhabiting a sort of a knowledge landscape that's heavily dominated by physical reality.
And compartmentalized in just that chunk of the field.
Exactly. And so they're very cautious about moving out beyond it. In other words, they recognize limitations of their systems, of the sciences and so on, but they're very cautious about moving beyond it. Now, that caution is justified to an extent because, unfortunately, the whole spiritual domain has, it has been abused to a certain extent. Like there's a lot of
Just to a certain extent.
Yeah, there's that
Just
dodgy
a little.
stuff out there, and there's a lot of systems are exploiting people. So it does require a significant degree of discernment. So there are a lot of people that would be very, very nervous about venturing out into those waters.
As we should be.
Indeed, yeah. Like there's this fear of cults and fear of cult thinking, and people getting entrapped in those systems or getting entrapped in movements, where people are exploited and so on. And unfortunately, there has been a degree of that, and it is wise to to approach the field with a degree, certainly with discernment, and certainly a degree of caution. So it's really attempt to try and identify fundamental principles that people can relate to, and that can provide a framework for exploration and for discussion. So obviously, like it's that's a long journey, and it's
a lifetime of journey.
It is, yeah.
Or lifetimes.
Because people have like they've grown up in a particular mindset and particular mental framework, and this is deeply embedded. And like there are people in universities have been teaching this for decades, and their whole career revolves around it. So it's not easy for some of those people to orient in a new direction. And they need something solid, something substantial that they can relate to. Now, even in KS, for example, in KS, like there's an enormous amount of information. Like KS has a very solid, framework of knowledge, but there's a huge amount of information, very detailed information, and a lot of it isn't important. In other words, there is core information there that's hugely important, and then there are a lot of details that aren't quite so important. So unfortunately, there has been a tendency for what is important to get lost, submerged under massive detail.
Or the trigger points that may not be that relevant to a particular person.
That's right.
That becomes their focus point to just push it away and be like, oh.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So, and in fact, that was something that was of concern to Ace and during his life, that he discussed that point several times, like this, the tendency to get submerged in a lot of detail. So so it's valuable to try and to carve out the principles, the framework, the skeleton that the whole information hangs on. More solid way.
Oh, you cut out for a sec. You're back. You were saying the skeleton that the whole information hangs upon?
Yeah. Like you have the skeleton of the framework, the scaffolding for the information, and then you have all the organs and the skin and everything else that hangs from that.
The outer layers, the structure. The Cathara grid structure is so important.
It is, absolutely. It is, yeah, absolutely, yeah. So we said, and oddly enough, within the Cathara and the galactic system, all the fundamental principles were set out in Cathara 1. All the really fundamental principles. And in a sense, like if people just got that, just got core principles there, they would have enough to go on with, on their own. In other words, the foundations of the Cathara system, the Cathara healing system, like we'll say the Cathara 1 manual, for example, that provides a very solid framework for somebody to grow from. And the whole aim, like our aim with this type of information, is to actually empower ourselves to make the connections where we go live to the information sources ourselves, and we're able to download these and bring them into our lives in a way that's relevant to us and in a way that's relevant to the people that we're dealing with.
Thank you, Noel. Thank you for saying that. That's something that I have experienced a lot in my life. Is I'm often, especially later in life, I'm rather talkative, and I love if someone's like, "Oh, let's follow the breadcrumb trail down the rabbit hole." I'm like, "Really? Let's go." And then they're like, "No, not that far. That's too much." I'm like, "I'm sorry. I didn't. Okay, where do you want to go?" And really, it's about exploring what the co-creative relationship of where someone else wants to go. To listen to that and support that rather than trying to force feed them a red pill, if you will, you know?
So and actually one of the, probably the core concept in all of these teachings is we say the concept of consciousness. And that is one of the hardest to get our minds around, because it's the deepest by far. And the thing is, you can't really plumb the full depths of that. It's so deep. So and because this is something that in that that new fundamental principles in creation website, I'm trying to tease out that the core reality is
I'm going to screen share it while we're talking here, just so we have visual reference. Unless you want to.
No, that's okay. Let's see. Well, there isn't anything there of huge significance, but actually, there's no need to screen share that that, Nathan.
Okay.
It's that's just an introductory page for the website. So like, you know, if we were to start at the beginning, like the starting point, would be the concept of existence. What does it mean to exist? Existence is the foundational reality, because without that, there's nothing, absolutely nothing. And in order for anything to be, you have to have existence. You have to have the reality of being, the beingness, the aliveness, the existence. So that is the foundational reality, and everything else derives from that. Now, you have this, this core state of pure existence. And in fact, all of the ancient religious systems had this concept of pure being, of pure aliveness, of pure existence. Like in the ancient Hindu Vedic system, like they had it as, like they refer to it as Brahman, as it's an impersonal reality. It's a reality that embraces all of liveness, not just an individual personalization of it. So
not just the pieces you like.
No, not just the piece. It's the whole lot, and then you have creation arising within that as an exploration of possibility within that state of pure existence. Now, a fundamental issue or factor there is that we'll say existence it pre-exists creation, and it exists independently of creation.
Existence predate, well, not even predates.
It's not even predates. It's pre. It's completely pre of creation. So it's not dependent on creation, and furthermore, it's not conditioned by creation in any way. So it exists fully.
It's not conditioned by it. Oh, that's a beautiful thought.
Yeah. So that means it's not conditioned by time. It's not conditioned by space. It's not conditioned by location. It's not conditioned by individual personalities. Like all of these are factors within creation. And so this ground state of being, this ground state of existence is the thing is, like in order to see something, you have to be apart from it. You have to be separate from it. Or in order to hear something, you have to be apart from it. In order to feel something, you have to be separate from it. But in other words, creation involves separation, projection into separation, and separation arises as an experience within creation, where things can be explored in an individual sense and separate from each other, and how they relate to each other. So creation, like, is an exploration within separation, within the field of separation. And in fact, we can call space a field of separation. It's a field that allows separation to exist. Creation is a process of the pure consciousness, of a projection of aliveness into this field of separation. And then within that field of separation, it creates frameworks for it to experience separation. It creates bodies to
have the experience.
To have the experience and to look out on creation as a separate reality. Rather than
You're
being
like, look at that. Look at that.
I know, fancy that. Fancy that. So so then, the state of pure being is one that's totally free of separation. It's unity consciousness. It's totally unified, totally integrated, entirely pure, not conditioned by anything, and there's no separation there. So we can't. Like it's described as ineffable. In other words, it's not. You can't describe it. But we do need some sort of language, some sort of reference points to relate to it from our point of view. But all we're really doing is describing our own separation from that state.
All we're doing is describing our own separation. By the way, I love the word.
Yeah. Wow.
I love the word ineffable.
Yeah,
and if you add an I there, we have this acronym, Eternal First Field Intelligence, or Electrothermal First Force Identity, as a description of that unity consciousness. But ineffable is saying that I can't express it. I don't have the words to express it, but I still can know it.
That's it. That's the point. That's the point. Yeah. In other words, you approach consciousness and you explore consciousness not by describing it, not by studying it, but by being it. In other words, you integrate within yourself to that state of, you progressively come out of separation, you come into integration, and we expand our field of consciousness, we expand our field of aliveness, our field of being, into the original aliveness that underlies all of creation. And that's how we come into relationship with with source, with consciousness, and with pure aliveness. Now, this state of pure being, it's a bit more than consciousness, because consciousness is the projection into creation. In other words, how the aliveness projects into creation. But like the projection, like there are two aspects to it. One is the aspect of projection, which is sort of masculine in nature. In other words, it's the what is going
electrical oscillation.
Exactly. Yeah. And then the other side, it's balanced. It has to be balanced by, to preserve the neutrality and non-polarity and all that of source. It has to be balanced by an equal return flow. And the return flow is one of sensory, the sensory absorption of the experience. In other words, where the experience is collected, integrated, and is brought back into consciousness. And consciousness, it comes in through the senses. The senses are feeding, they're overcoming the separation, and they're drawing the experience, the reality of this, his being experienced, drawing it back into
like the efferent and afferent nervous system.
That's right. Yeah.
Is that same thing?
Yeah. Drawing it all back and bringing it home to to the total aliveness of source. So we have these two aspects, started the male, the female, the projective, the receptive, the ones that receives the return flow, and that brings it back home in a balanced way. So now, as part of the projection, like there is the concept of of will. In other words, when we as source project into creation, what are we willing ourselves to experience? What are we choosing to experience?
Would intent be a synonym also
exactly
for will?
it would, yeah. Intent.
Okay.
Intent, will, direction, or volition as well.
Volition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of those together, like they're all going in the same direction. And that's the projection out into creation, to explore something, to experience something. And the return flow then is the sensory integration of that experience and bring it back home to consciousness, and then bring it back into the full aliveness of source.
That resonates a lot. Aaron and I were just in our pre-recording, we're talking about the lotus petal is the push out, and the sensory apparatus, the apartheid, is the reception back.
That's right. It is. Yeah.
That resonates a lot with me.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So once we, so with consciousness, like it's so deep, like it is the ultimate reality of everything, and it is so deep that you almost can't encompass it, can't embrace it, from a perspective out here. You have to actually integrate it back into it and become it and be it. And then
embody it.
And then embody it. That's the critical thing. And then so once we do that, once we rebuild the connections all the way back, then that allows us to hold that presence in an integrated way in the world. The thing is, we've come into creation, with whatever we intended to explore here in creation, whatever we intended to experience here in creation, and but along the way, our consciousness got fragmented, and so we are a bit disconnected. For various reasons, as part of the.
Let's be short. For various reasons.
Yeah. And so we have this journey then to undertake to progressively rebuild connections back up through the different levels in creation. To integrate back the soul level, the soul family, which is an expanded form of consciousness. Integrate from there up into spirit, up into the Christ consciousness, and up into the the pure light, the Rishi consciousness, up into the pure sound fields. And the sound fields are primarily consciousness. Like they're described as sound, but they're just really oscillations, the very finest oscillations, the beginning of creation projecting out into separation and into manifestation. So you get these at level of sound fields. We're not talking about sound as we experience it, the mechanical sound. We're talking about in terms of the very fine oscillations of consciousness. And the Indians, the ancient Hindus, and those who studied the Vedas, they were actually working their way back to those very pure sound levels, within their own consciousness.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, certainly, Aaron.
Do you mean oscillations, or do you mean vibrations? Or
I wouldn't
is it an oscillation? Is it
maybe frequency?
Yeah. Nate and I were talking about the difference between vibration and oscillation. So would the sound fields be like a pre-vibration, or would it be related to oscillation, which is the light?
It's effectively both. In other words, projecting into creation, it would primarily be oscillation, and vibration will be just. I wouldn't make much of a distinction between the two, because most people, they're using they're using the terms interchangeably. So we'll say, if we're coming from the calm state of pure consciousness, like that's like the surface of the sea, like it's just pure non-separation. But we say the first intent, to separate or to experience something, to experience something as separate from oneself is actually to set up this vibration or oscillation. So it's basically a wave that ripples within the pure field of consciousness, and these oscillations, they become progressively more. So you start with very pure oscillation, and then they become progressively they differentiate. In other words, they in turn project additional vibrations themselves, and these become more separated from the original consciousness, more specific, and more defined by differences. As they begin
and every one of them is progressively more unique and more individuated.
Yeah. More individuated, and that's the key thing there. Individuation. It individuates progressively down through a number of layers of projection all the way down. So we get the pure consciousness vibrating. With sound, we tend to think of oscillations in the air. Mechanical oscillations traveling.
Yeah, but that's like the density 1 understanding of what sound frequencies and light frequencies are represented by here. They also hold the structure of everything.
They do, yeah.
From the top down.
Yeah, absolutely. So they become progressively more differentiated, more individuated, and they carry more and more structure. They become more separated, more individuated, and they need structure then to define them and to hold the separation. So they progress from pure consciousness down to light, the pure light, and then the light in turn differentiates and comes down into matter. And now the light is would primarily have an oscillatory nature, a wave nature, and waves tend to be everywhere. In other words, they're not localized. Now, matter is where things localize into individual particles. So we begin to get individual particles and individual structures like bodies, like worlds, like planets, like solar systems, galaxies. All of those those realities. So come down through the 4 levels of the matter fields. The density 4 through 3 to 2 to 1, and we're down in 1. And each of those 4 density levels has 3 dimensions, giving us the 12 dimensions of the matter fields. So going from the dense physical levels down here, dimensions 1, 2, and 3, up to the soul levels 4, 5, and 6. And soul levels are a much more refined version of what we have down here.
And also what we experience when we go to sleep, our consciousness shifts into density 2.
It does, absolutely.
Those experiences, especially when they're not polluted by all the poison, light, and sound information down here.
That's right, yeah, that's right.
We are literally, and we're not just off-gassing whatever we need to process.
Yeah.
We can experience our soul bodies in that state. And perhaps our oversoul and avatar bodies.
Yeah, and we do have bodies, and we need bodies all the way up to the density 4. The bodies get progressively more refined, but we still need them. We need the bodies as to house our consciousness, so that we can look out in the world. And in that that second website I mentioned there, like or a common way of illustrating that is with a diver. You have, if you go out in a boat, you have the air, and we say we live in the atmosphere. Like that's our medium. Now we go out in the boat and we're floating on water. Now we can't go down into water, deep into the water ourselves.
We can take air with us though.
Exactly. So we have to put on a shell, encase ourselves in a shell, in a suit, a diving suit, and we have to bring our air supply with us. and that allows us to, we put on this this body, and then we dive into the denser medium, and we go down into it, and then we can explore down there. But it's the diving suit that allows us to do that, and that's our physical body is very similar. It allows us to be present in a denser environment. It allows our more refined consciousness to be present in a denser environment in a functional way, and to experience this. And then once we're finished diving, once we're finished exploring, we come back up. We take off our suit. We don't need it anymore. We push it away, and then we continue in our new environment. We continue breathing the air directly.
It's same if we want to pretend like, oh, I can be a bird too. We can build technology, fly through the upper atmosphere, even outside of the atmosphere. But we need to construct the exact environment that we are designed for. To do
that's
that.
Right. Yes, that's
and
right.
it's extremely dangerous to do that, you know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So that's the those are all useful analogies. Now, once we and what you said there very earlier on, Nathan, is very, very relevant. Once we connect with our consciousness at the higher levels, and particularly at the Christ level, and the higher levels above that, at the source level, the next thing then, that's the easy part of the journey, the easy part of the process. The hard part then is actually bringing it back into embodiment and holding that. Like, we are then back to a level of development that we had when we actually came in here in the beginning. That's all we've done. We just gone back to the beginning where we were when we projected in here initially.
Adachi return, that's easy.
Yeah, I know.
How do you bring it back?
How do you bring it back, and how do you hold it? How do you hold it? How do you embody it and anchor it and hold that presence here in physical embodiment? And that's a real challenge.
Definitely, I can identify with that a lot, because I know I've heard the term peak experience, also spelled PEEK by Ken Wilber. It's like, boop, it's like you can see for a moment, but to hold that, to maintain and be consistent with holding that space,
that's right.
That is the challenge, because
absolutely,
I can be in a good mood right now talking to you, but an experience I might identify as like, I don't know, negative, might happen in the next couple hours. How do I hold that space?
That's right.
And keep it consistent.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And also that we're able to hold not just hold a presence here, but hold a useful presence. Where we can help.
Where it has a function.
Yeah, because once we're integrated our own consciousness back, we're also integrating connection to all the other expressions of consciousness in the world around us. So we'd say the consciousness that we're carrying within our physical body is only a fraction of what we are. And as we're integrated to these higher levels, like we come to a point where we realize that, well, first of all, we connect with our own family, our own extended families at all the different levels. And then we recognize that that's reflected in physical reality here by our oneness with the people around us, and not just the people around us, but the life forms around us, like the trees, the birds, the animals, and so on. And so that we can start to help those in a practical way, because in helping them, we're also helping ourselves. We're helping the larger life. Like, because in reality, we're not just the consciousness that we embody, but once we integrate, we're one with the consciousness that expresses all of life. We are the totality. We become one with the totality, and there's a responsibility associated with that. So in that sense, then everything becomes family, and we have the responsibility to help where we can. Now, there's a balance here with the whole issue of free will. Like, every being that projects into creation, like they have their own purpose here. And we have to, and that is allowed for, we have to respect that. So we have to respect free will and allow people to experience what they want to do, even if it is negative.
Absolutely.
Now,
Noel, that reminds me something that about like 5 weeks ago or so, I don't know. I went through an experience that was very, very challenging for me. And to forgive that happened, or that another person, another being wants to express what the opposite of what I value is, which is maintaining a vertical line. But really that's my choice.
That's right.
And
that's right.
to
Yeah.
let go and forgive that is also part of, it's very important to me. And Aaron reminded me, as far as core principles go back to, of what free will is that an eternal experience or a finite experience, neither one can exist if there is not consequence to action. If the projection does not have a sensory feedback loop related to it, beingness can't exist. Well, I guess beingness can't, but manifestation templates, the experience of manifesting cannot exist if we don't allow the function of free will to be part of the experience, and the allowance of allowing every conscious being to make their own choices in their own discernment to do what they need to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and part of that free will too is allowing them to, to make their choices, but also allowing them to face the consequences of those choices. In other words, if they do something bad, the bad consequences are that's their lesson, as it were, and we can't protect them from that. No, we have to allow both the free will and the consequences of the choices. And also, so we say consequences are very important. Like everything, as you said, there has consequence, and those consequences are very important because they bring the experience home. Like we project things, we try things out, and the lesson is in the consequence. The consequences will tell us whether what we're doing is evolutionary or not, whether it's good or bad. And so those lessons are very important. They're part of our learning and part of our evolution. And we can't really deprive people of their lessons, even if the lessons may be very hard. So there is the question then of knowing the boundaries, of knowing where we can help and where it's not appropriate to interfere.
And when is the help we offer enabling and helping to perpetuate whatever the problem might be?
Exactly. So it's a very, very, very delicate balance, and in a lot of these situations, like there isn't, there aren't absolute right and wrong, and so it's a dynamic balance that varies from situation to situation and even from moment to moment. And it's being able to, it's really a question of being responsive to that, being able to read the situation. And also some of the time we may have to be the means by which consequences are reflected back to some people. For example, like the legal system, the framework of laws and the legal system within the country, it does serve a purpose.
Law enforcement, right?
Yeah. So it does provide a framework for reflecting consequences back to people, but it does need to be guided by principles and by fairness. And in most developed legal systems, that does happen. And maybe maybe the degree to which it happens can be too lenient at times,
or too tough.
Are too tough, indeed.
Depending, it's a balance.
It's a balancing, and it's constant. It's something that needs constant refinement. But so people in law enforcement, for example, are in the business of reflecting consequences back. And it's not a pleasant thing to have to do, but it's something that it's part of life here. And sometimes we may have to reflect consequences back.
You know, that even reminds me that in I'm not sure how global this is, but in the American, like the judicial system, it's represented by Lady Liberty, who has a blindfold on and she's holding a balance.
That's right, yeah.
In her hand.
Statue
But
of
she's
Liberty.
blind. She's not looking at it. It's so
it's just reflecting consequences back. So we are part of the live stream, and we play a role, and we constantly have to read and adjust and trim the sails. But the more connected we are, the more we will align ourselves with the highest outcome or the best outcome in specific situations. And parents with children, like this is always an issue. Parents are responsible for the children and for guiding the children and helping them to develop. But at the same time, like they have to allow the children to learn from their lessons. They have to allow them to make their mistakes and get hurt if need be, to learn their lessons. And parents can, like the concept of the helicopter parent who is constantly looking over the child and protecting them from everything and anything. And that's not necessarily good for the development of the child. Like if the child puts our hand too close to the fire and gets burned, like that's an important lesson, and they won't do it again. So with parents and handling children and all that, these issues are live, and they're constantly being negotiated.
And they're constantly evolving too. I know that I grew up as a child in the 80s, and I was in a rather sheltered, homeschooled family in Colorado at the time. And I can see that. I was just talking about this with my friends after a workout yesterday morning, where he was saying, and I see this in my nieces and nephews, I don't have children myself, but I do see that the way, just how culturally consciousness has evolved and how we've learned. I could not even imagine as a child to disrespect my parents. Like it didn't even occur to me to be like, you can't tell me what to do, or have that much autonomy at a young age. Whereas now I see young kids, they're like negotiating and battling with their parents when they say, no, you can't have that sugar, or you can't watch that show, or these, we have these little magical devices. I have no idea if I could psychologically have survived if cell phones and iPads exist when I was a kid.
I know.
I have no idea how to educate or say to them, hey, just trust me. Don't do that. Don't be so addicted to it. It's like, But the relationship, like you're saying, it's a constant negotiation, and it's always changing and always moving.
It's always changing. Yeah. Okay, so we just have to wander around a few topics there.
I would like to calibrate a little bit if I can.
Yeah, certainly, absolutely.
Yeah. So this is one thing I really, really wanted to go over with you. Let me pull up here. So I have a couple pictures that I set aside, some from your site, but also starting with this. I'm a big fan of Walter Russell.
Yes.
I feel like in the past, he was someone a lot like Nikola Tesla, who he was presenting ideas that he even said came to him in 24 days of angelic visits. And that's where all of his books came from. And his wife, Lau Russell, also all of her books came from, was these experiences. And this is using 12 as a base number pattern, not 10. And then Lynn, who I think we all know, I met him through a Facebook group, where he has this image here. This is just so beautiful. on the geometry of music, when I was
Mm-hmm.
giving him this stuff from Walter Russell, I don't really even know how to pretend I understand what this means here.
Yeah.
But Noel, while we have your time, I know that you have all of these spirals of harmony on the Emerald 24 website as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's and then yeah, you did a great distillation on this. We're down at the bottom. What I would like to do while we have time together on this recording is to just have you give us a sense of scale of what this all means. Like, here's another one I wanted to bring up. This is cymatics, that Hans
Mm-hmm.
Jenny, who passed away in
Yes.
1972, and its
Mm-hmm.
relationship to the different sound tones that
Mm.
that can be represented with modern day technology of when we say ah, eh, I, o, u, and
Yeah.
then what the other cultures from the past, like these are cathedral windows and what they look like.
That's right. That's right. Yes. Yes.
That's
Yeah.
so fascinating to me. So if you
Mm.
want to take it away, I don't know if you
Mm.
have anything like prepared, but I would really love to go into you with what is the difference between a Krystic music scale and the work that you did with Asan and Wilbur Southey. Um, who I realized that I didn't know that he was South African. I've never met him
That's
before,
right.
but I do
That's
have
right. Yeah.
the printout of the map of all the
That's right.
gates and ley lines on the planet. I was
That's
like,
right.
oh.
Yeah. 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 No, Wilbur did wonderful work with the mapping. Wilbur was very, very skilled in software, and he actually wrote software back in the 2000s. He wrote mapping software, to take, to create background maps and then to add foreground detail to the maps. So that was quite an effort then, because there was no mapping software readily available. Whereas nowadays, mapping software is widely available. Like you have Google Earth, and then you have all the the mapping GIS systems, geographic information systems. Like the GIS systems are incredibly powerful now, and readily available and easy to use. So yeah, and get a sense of what you're after there. So well, I'll just bring up two diagrams.
Is Wilbur Southey still around, by the way?
He is, yeah.
Do you know?
He is still around, but he's not active. After 2012, like things tend to fall apart a bit.
Are you still in contact with him at all?
To a limited extent, yeah. I haven't been in direct contact with him now for a while. I was in contact with him at the time that Asan passed away.
Okay.
There, back in 2001, sorry, 2021. But not recently. But he's a great guy who's done wonderful work, and so, and he was part of a discussion group. Like Asan used to, he had a group of people discussing various groups of people discussing various topics, and so there was a lot of work done, a lot of useful work done with that. And Asan was very open and supportive of these various initiatives. So
that's beautiful. I did want to mention something too that really stands out to me, just about not only the presentation that we have of all these materials, whether we call them freedom teachings or Tantri or Raya, or all of the names for it.
Yeah.
It's most of it, and the reason it has been preserved is because of volunteers that chose to keep it, and especially the different times like post 2012 and all that, where a lot of it just it just disappeared. And if it weren't for hard drives and other friends that I've met since I really got back into the work, to realize like we did save it, and it is continuing to evolve, and we are.
That is, yes. Yeah.
You and Wilbur are a great example. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, yeah. Well, there are many now. we say an important thing is that, and this is something that start to discuss a little bit in that fundamental principles website, is that the information itself is live. The information itself is conscious in its own terms, and it exists as a sort of a level of consciousness in the higher, up in dimensional space, in higher dimensional space. So the information. And actually, the nearest thing we have to an analogy is, the cloud computing.
Yeah.
The cloud computing is up there, and all the information gets pumped up there and sits as
I call that the OI instead of the AI, the organic intelligence.
Organic intelligence, exactly.
I love it.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's well done, Aaron. Yeah. So the cloud is like this pool of knowledge, or the pool of information that exists up there, and we have connection to that. And in fact, a lot of our memory works directly from there. So we're pumping information up there into the cloud, and we're bringing it back down. So like the information is up there, and really anybody who plugs into it can tap it. And that is really where we need to go with all of this, is to build our own connections to it. Build our own connections to the living information fields. Like it's not, we're not talking just about records that are on CDT plates, or records that are on manuscripts hidden in the Himalayas, or hidden in caves somewhere. Like, okay, their physical records are preserved, but there are also the living records, and these are the equivalent of the halls of records, and the group conscious, or the collective consciousness of humanity, the collective consciousness of creation in a sense. So the projection into creation uses the information from these information fields to culture what's down here and to influence what's down here. And then the experience is brought back up and it's held up there. And it's held up there for as long as it needs to be processed. In other words, if there are still loose ends that people need to work with, it'll remain intact up there until everybody has integrated what they needed to do with that, and until that has completely served its purpose. And so at that point, then it can then sort of integrate back into the total unified consciousness of source. So there is this vast pool of information up there, and ideally we should have our own living connections to it. We all had our own living connections to it until we got our consciousness was fragmented, and the idea, and ideally we should be rebuilding that and using that as our own our own library. Exactly, Aaron. Exactly, yeah. So that is the universal cloud.
Universal cloud. I love it. I really appreciate that, Noel, in that perhaps may I focus my intent on when sharing this information, it is to encourage everyone else, to remind them that they have access to that too. Yeah. And that's what one of my favorite people walking the earth right now, he goes by the term Harry Mack, and he is a freestyle rapper who he's able, and I'm going to see him next week for the 6th time, where he is able to improvise an entire show for hours if he wants to, and he just takes words. He's like, give me the most complex word you can imagine, and someone recently gave him the word mystery, and he explains it as like, when he's in a flow state, he doesn't know what he's going to say next. He's like, it's like juggling. You throw the ball up in the air and just I trust that my hand will catch it. And when he's just bouncing words around, someone gave him the word mystery, and here's what he said: I'm about to spit a free. Every time I rhyme, I do my lines so exquisitely. I'm divine late at night. Yo, these aliens, they visit me. There we go. Maybe we just solved the mystery.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly, like right off the top of his head. He does that stuff all the time. It's amazing.
He's live, and we say a lot of great scientists were also doing that. Like the likes of Tesla, they had these living connections. Like they're connecting to the principles in creation, but they're also connecting to the history. They're connecting to the geography. They're connecting to the technology, such as it is.
To
So
manifest like electricity as we know it. Thanks, Nikola Tesla. Yeah.
exactly, yeah. So they're downstepping stuff, and the likes of the great scientists like Einstein, like he was highly artistic and highly creative. And he said that he used to get most of his inspiration from going into a quiet state within himself and holding that space. He would put the problem or the question into that space and let it sit there, and the answer would come to him.
Yeah.
So he was taking it upstairs and getting the downflow on that. So like these people were stepping down information from those levels. And musicians also, like, they are taking their inspiration, and musicians and artists and so on. They're learning to interface between those levels and the reality down here.
Yep. I feel like that reminds me, before we go ahead here, that I'm a big fan of Joseph Campbell as well. My sister and I recorded something where one of my favorite things Joseph Campbell said is the role of the artist is to communicate the transcendent to the elementary.
Exactly.
And
that's
we
it,
are
yeah.
all artists when we do that.
We are.
You as an engineer, like I do IT data science stuff, but
absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know what the answer is going to be. I need to set aside and send up the question and divine what the answer and manifest the answer. I have no idea. Half the time, my job, I feel completely unqualified. I was like, how am I going to figure this out?
I know. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the joy of of life. And once we're able to build these conscious connections and be able to hold them and able to ground them and bring stuff back, like, that's part of the joy of life. In other words, being able to go into a beautiful garden and the flowers, like the colors of the flowers are unique. In other words, it would be very difficult to reproduce them, with just paint, something inert like paint. The colors are unique because they're alive. The plants themselves, like, they carry their own life. And if we can relate to the aliveness of, we say, the trees, the plants, and everything in the space around us, and even in a beautiful space, like, there is a sense of transcendence in that space. In other words, the transcendent is present in the space itself. So if we can communicate with life at that level, in other words, if we can have those connections within ourselves and then have those connections mirrored we will find that they are mirrored in the world around us, and we can build that connection from us to the life forms around us, and then from them back through us up into the into the higher levels of creation. So we're all part of this this cycling of consciousness, cycling of attention, cycling of energy, in and out of creation all the time. And so we can be sort of a conscious and active participant in the act of creation, in the experience of creation in the world around us. And that's the joy of building building this level of conscious development, conscious integration, and then bringing it into the world around us.
That's beautiful. I love that. It also reminds me of, I don't know if it was Yesha or Asan who said this, but it's just a principle in that what I see externalized, what I can experience externalized, is only that which is activated in my template and embodied. Everything else, and if I were to ever be in a victim state, or like a victim experience of, say, prove it to me, that's not true, prove it to me,
I know
that means I am resisting what is.
I
am resisting to embody and allow that into my template. And yeah, I have a little, he showed up, I'm not sure if it's a crow or a raven, but I've been taking my drum, my djembe drum that I made in Hawaii, out on the lanai here when the sun rises, and as the sun is rising, I'll just sing and drum. And this, I still don't know if it's a crow or a raven, if it's a he or she, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it's
But
alive.
sometime in the day, like
It's like,
poke around and be like, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing over there?
I know, yeah.
And then he'll knock his little beak on the sliding glass window over there, and he drops a little trinket. Like yesterday it was a shell, the day before it was a bottle cap, but he'll be like bonk bonk, and I'll look over, and then he'll fly away and just drop something. I'm like, oh, thanks, buddy. Oh, it's like the most heartwarming, life affirming.
Of course it is. Of course it is. Yeah. And like they can help us evolve, and we can help them evolve. And that's what life is all about, because we're all family. Once we integrate connections within ourselves, like they're reflected in the world around us.
Beautifully said. Yes, they're reflected in the world around us when we evolve ourselves. I love that, Noel.
Once we rebuild those connections ourselves. Okay, so I'll just let me see. I'll just pull up. I'll just pull up a particular diagram. So I'll do a screen share now. Share screen and screen 2. Yeah. So share. Is this visible?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. This particular diagram is actually. Oh, sorry. This particular diagram is very useful for it provides an overview of the fundamental structures in creation. The dimensional structure. We have source, the absolute reality that encompasses everything. We have the sound fields represented as the first expressions of consciousness coming into creation, and they're non-dimensionalized, which means that they are still free of structure, and there's very little separation at this level. But we're beginning to have the first oscillations of consciousness that project creation into more specific forms in the dimensions within creation. Then we have primal light fields spanning 3 dimensions, which are free of matter. They're just pure light. And then we have the matter fields spanning 12 dimensions, spread over 4 density levels, and each encompassing three dimensions. Now, the fallen creation is it's a significant event in creation. That was where the original separation, separation is inherent in creation, but where the split in creation, split would probably be a more accurate term, where the original split in creation arose, where a part of creation chose a particular path to pursue, decided to take the law into their own hands, and to pursue their own.
What is it like to not be connected to source? Let's try that, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So they severed connections, and in doing so, they severed dimensional structure at a certain level between dimensions 11 and 12. And so there's a whole block of dimensions there from 11 down to 1 that were severed within creation. And fall really refers to a fall in frequency.
Fallen frequency. Yeah. I've never heard it expressed that way. I like that.
Yeah. It's just a fall. It's a severing of connection, and then, like when we cut a branch off a tree, the branch from that point is cut off from its life force, from the supply of energy and the supply of life force, and so it goes into a form of finite existence, where it continues living using whatever sap and energy it already has, but it's now in a finite loop where it is progressively decaying. So it is effectively a decaying universe. So we have this portion of creation that has experienced fall, and that is subject to the consequences of split, the consequences of separation, and in their more extreme expressions. Now and so we also have like the consciousness that fell from this level, it still has family in the higher dimensional levels. So that family is still keen to assist whatever desires to evolve back into wholeness, assisted in doing so. Now, there are 2 pathways back to back to source. Once we project into creation, there are two pathways back. We can return to source by the natural process of reintegrating. In other words, we project down through the dimensional levels, and we can reintegrate back up through the dimensional levels. That's the pathway.
And that's where we take our memory with us.
That's where we take the memory with us, and we integrate our consciousness and expand back into our original wholeness. And we progressively transcend separation and ultimately transcend all separation. Now, the alternative to that is where we have polarity, two polarities exist in relationship to each other. They're separate from each other. Now, there are two pathways back into integration: the evolutionary process of the polarities come together again, integrating and neutralizing the difference, neutralizing the separation, and going back into the neutral core and going up in frequency and evolving back into integrity with source. Now, the alternative for where the polarity is sufficiently severe that for whatever part of the polarity cannot evolve back up in frequency, that will, as the polarities come together, they will clash against each other, and in doing so, they will actually shatter anything that cannot go back up. So whatever cannot go back up goes down through a process of disintegration,
which eventually will end up as space dust.
As space dust, yeah. So we have the process of evolution back upwards, and we have the process of devolution downwards. So the devolving expressions of creation, the devolving consciousness, or the portions of creation that are devolving, they will progressively fragment. They'll break up into smaller and smaller units, smaller and smaller bodies, increasingly disempowered, and they will disintegrate into space dust. Now, the important thing is that it's the bodies that disintegrate, and in doing so, they actually release the consciousness. So the consciousness itself returns to source, but in a
without the memory.
Without the memory. In other words, it's an unconscious return to source. It returns to source in an unconscious way, rather than a conscious way. And so the consciousness that goes back to source by a process of evolution takes the experience with it, and it retains the memory and brings the whole experience back home with it. It integrates the experience. The opposite happens on the other side. The bodies that are holding the consciousness, they progressively fragment, and in doing so, they release the consciousness for a return to source by an involuntary route. And by an involuntary and unconscious route, but still a return to source. Everything comes back to source one way or another. So it's just an alternative pathway back to source for those parts that cannot evolve upwards. So this is what's going on here in the fallen portion of creation. So the fallen portion of creation is subject to a process of decay, and this decay manifests as the law of the principle of entropy, yeah. You know, where there's a progression towards increasing disorder. In other words, the structures are fragmenting into progressively disordered forms. There's progressive fragmentation, there's progressive integration, and ultimately the whole thing will, the structures and the forms will fragment down to space dust, as you say, but the consciousness they will release whatever consciousness is trapped in the process. Now,
isn't that the second or third law of thermodynamics?
It is, yeah.
In modern day physics.
The second law of thermodynamics is one of the most fundamental laws in physics.
Right, but it's not supposed to be there. Well, supposed to. It's not organic, right? It's part of the experience we have now.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. Now, so there's a lot of life in this fallen portion of creation, and there's a lot of life there, and this life creates additional expressions of life. Notice the process of creating new bodies, creating new life experiences continued in this space. So there's a lot of life was birthed down through the lower levels that were carrying the consequences of the original split. and the problems associated with that. And a lot of them were sort of involuntary victims of what was done up here at these levels here. And there's a lot of family out here, associated family out here, who are keen to help whatever wished to come back into integrity. So this is where the process of the dimension 12 is of key importance, because that is the first dimension that didn't experience fall. In other words, that is the dimension that holds the original integrity of creation, of natural order in creation. So this is the level of Christ consciousness, and and Christ has more to do with consciousness than with any individual personality. Individual personalities can embody that consciousness, but the key essence is that it is a level in consciousness, and it's the first level of consciousness that's pure, that's free from fall. So this level here is very important in terms of integration, of integrating back into wholeness. Now, so there is this
and the Christos realignment mission is
exactly.
Eventually what seated human beings, because we can embody Christ consciousness from in density 1.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So that is the whole the Christos realignment mission. Then is the process of holding the integrity of the original natural order of creation in the 12 dimensions. Those taken from dimension 12 down through the lower dimensions to create an intact portion of creation that is in integrity with original natural order and with the original intent for creation as embodied at the level of the Christ consciousness. So there is a lot of consciousness at this level here, and this is interacting with the fallen consciousness in creation, and this is the Christos realignment mission. It is the process.
Beautifully stated. Let's go.
I know.
And here we are completing the mission that's been going on for billions of long time. A long time. Let's put it that way.
Going on for a long time. Yeah. So we're bringing. So this is the opportunity is there to connect with the original natural order in creation and the purity of the original Christ consciousness. So this is made available to the fallen portions in creation to allow for what can evolve, or what wishes to evolve, or what can evolve, to do so and to come back into Christos realignment and to ascend back up into its original natural order. So it's effectively a workaround from the original fallen creation. So we have these two realities. Now, our present physical universe is largely described in this space. There's all the laws of physics and everything relate to this, and a lot of our structures and so on in terms of the tree of life and all of that. There's this,
and all of our institutionalized information that is compartmentalized is also representative of studying and looking exactly at the shadow creation elements. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's the dimensional structure in this space is described by the tree of life, and that is the value of the tree of life. It's effectively a map of the dimensional structure relevant to this particular reality. And the Clara Grid then is a map of dimensional structure relevant to the original natural order in creation, to this reality. So that puts the two in juxtaposition. Now, science is working within this space. It's working within the limits of that. So science sees creation beginning at the Big Bang. So guess what the Big Bang was?
That was the fall from density 2 to density 1.
From
well, actually,
dimension 12, dimension 12, dimension 12, dimension 2, dimension 11.
Yeah, so it happened way back when. But what we can see, what like modern contemporary earth science looks back and sees, what's that, 13.2 to 0.8 billion years, they say? But that was just the 2 to 1 point. That wasn't the crack back at 11.
No. True, yeah. So we're now, if we just look at the the scientific the current scientific understanding of creation and how it emerged and how and its nature. It's basically describing this reality, but it's incomplete. In other words, it doesn't make sense and so on, because it doesn't explain how the Big Bang happened or where the Big Bang came from.
Right.
What was the
or
original?
why the universe?
Yeah, why did this happen? How did it happen? What caused it to happen?
Yeah.
And then where does it go at the end of the process? Like where does the consciousness and so on and the life in the universe go? And furthermore, it doesn't explain life. It doesn't. It's very. It was something that we had to go through. You know, science is very focused on the physical, and that's something that we had to go through. It allows us to escape from a lot of superstition, and it did empower us, but primarily at the physical level. So now we have the challenge of taking that as a foundation and building up from it to a more complete and more expanded understanding of the totality of creation. In other words, what is the larger reality that contains all of this? What is the larger reality that fuels that source it, that fuels us, and that gives meaning to us, that gives purpose to us, and that actually feeds life into us? So we have to. So we're in the process then of expanding our understanding to embrace this larger reality. Now, our religions also are.
The religions.
Yeah, but they are, they are the product. They are the product of spiritual teachings, but they're also the product of the politics of the ages that they pass through. In other words, they're a compromise with the political environments that these traditions have had to survive through. So their perspective is somewhat limited by that, and the gods, most of the gods that we're dealing with are not pure gods in the sense that, in the ideal sense. They're just higher beings, higher dimensional beings within this space.
Who took the sacred tones like, I'm Ra.
That's right.
Worship me. I'm this, I'm that. Go kill those people.
I know, yeah. So that's where the whole invasion mentality comes from, where the desire to to conquer resources. It's arising from a lack, a sense of separation, and a sense of lack. There's a lack of energy, there's lack of resource. So in order to secure your existence, you have to get a source of energy, a source of fuel. So they have to conquer land, they have to conquer people, they have to conquer whatever has life force.
Whatever has life force, and that's ultimately the goal, is the life force, the energy itself. Noel, this reminds me too, I love the shorthand term of the creation of the VV game, the victimizer game. So, which is being stuck in a dualistic nature where if I choose to be a victim, it creates a victimizer. If I choose to be a victimizer, it creates a victim. And that energy layer in the experience of the time matrix we're in happened at the break of cutting off the vertical line at 11. 12, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So look, we're dealing with the consequences of this all the time. So our understanding, our conventional understanding of personalized gods is mainly related to beings within this space. So when we talk about, if we go for a more expanded concept of divinity, we are going out into these spaces here, the pure Christ consciousness level and the primal light level and the primal sound fields and ultimately source. So in that space, you're primarily talking about, we're increasing it, the higher we go, the more we're talking about pure consciousness. And once we get up into these higher levels, structure doesn't matter. We're progressively transcending structure. We're transcending separation. We're transcending individuality and all of that. We're going back into increasing degrees of integration, of wholeness, and of the original purity in creation. Now, when we come up into this space here, everything is incredibly powerful. Consciousness is highly integrated and very, very powerful. Just thinking a thought actually manifests it in the levels below. So up here, the only possibility is love. Anything else would be too destructive. So this is the space. This is where the divinity of love arises.
And that would be the dissolution, the letting go of harmonics, as even just a Partakai unit, like reintegrating or pooping, for example, it's letting go of all the things that don't work to go back to that space of whole love, because the structure only allows that to work there.
Yeah. So in the Christian tradition, like the Jeshua would have brought back the concept of the God of love, and basically it's describing this here. Not the God of vengeance or the God of
yeah.
The sort of
I am a vengeful God, do what I say.
I am the Lord thy God, thou shalt not have strange gods before me, all that sort of thing. So anyway,
probably Draco or Anu something, right?
Yeah, the gods of dominion and the gods of your hierarchical control, and of, in other words, the gods who need worship.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so the part of the Christos mission is it's a process of reclamation, and it's also a process of integrating, though it can be integrated back up into this space of wholeness, into the space of increasing harmony and increasing the experience, the reality of love in its very, very pure forms. And that can be quite different from what we would conceive of love as down here. Like love at that space is very, very powerful, and it doesn't really tolerate, well, how would you express that? It doesn't tolerate things that are not love. They get they don't belong at these higher levels.
And it's like the love that is often expressed down here, especially in a lot of beautiful music songs that we all know of. It is an expression of codependence, where if I choose to perceive that my higher self is someone else or the relationship, it means my vertical line is tilted.
That's right.
And then if I lose that person and I'm like, oh, I'm only half myself anymore.
I know.
That's not the story.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And so the whole basis then for communication is one of, and particularly communication with higher dimensional beings or higher dimensional levels, is one of integrating to that level within ourselves, and then communicating with whatever we're communicating with on an equal basis, communicating with their equivalent consciousness, their equivalent level of consciousness. In other words, going up to, we said, the level of soul or the level of spirit or the level of Christ consciousness, going up to that level within ourselves, and then communicating with what we're dealing with at that level, and communicating as equals, not looking down on or looking up, but communicating as equals. And so that is the the ideal, rather than putting ourselves into a position of subservience, of worship or whatever. Now, I'll just go on to just another diagram here. Again, these are, I think they're discussed in that fundamental principles. Now, I think this, Aaron, you had asked some questions about the difference between inner and outer, internal and outer creation. Yeah. Anyway, so
no, I was thinking, do you mean this time or the last time we talked?
This time, I think in some of the questions you in your note, Nathan?
Oh, I was just kind of like writing stuff
Mm,
down before we
yeah,
met, so you had a
yeah.
brief. But yeah, we covered a lot about the relationship between internal and external, and relating it to the expression of how oscillation
Mm,
is the outer expression and vibration is the inner expansion.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So we say internal. I know a lot has been spoken about internal and external creation, but actually, it's really only a polarity. It is polarity within creation, and at the higher levels in creation, it's excuse me, so it's a polarity that becomes increasingly unimportant. In other words, it's not hugely important. Now, if we look at the the relationship between the inner and outer, now inner and outer is first of all, it's a polarity. It's something that only exists within creation. So we don't talk about inner and outer relationships with source, like, because it doesn't exist over those levels. The distinction is polarity
Yeah.
within creation, and it's not relevant to talk about that at the level of source.
Hmm.
Now, we integrate all polarities by the time we get to by the time we come into relationship with source. So and so the relationship between internal and out and external is it's relative to our own situation, really. So like in our personal lives, like what is internal to us is well, first of all, it's easier to describe what's external. External is what's outside. You know, probably the easiest way to express would be we have a sphere of influence. And for our senses, like our body is our sphere of influence. Now, what is outside in the world around us, what is external to us, like that is effectively the external world. And what is internal is our inner connections to our own higher dimensional levels. Our inner connection to our, we'd say, our emotions, our thoughts, our mental processes, and from there, our connection to our conscious connections then through our soul, to to our oversoul, and ultimately to source. That whole relationship. Now, what is internal and external will vary depending on the level of creation that we're in. Now, if we look at it in terms of the Katara grid, like we have vortices, where energies flow in and out. Now, the Katara grid it's basically a map of dimensional structure. It has, as you know, it comprises 12 centers, and each of those centers actually carry the encryption for our bodies, for what we wish to express at each dimensional level in creation. So the encryption for our physical body is down here: emotional body, mental body, astral body, and soul body, and so on. So it effectively is a map that we use to project bodies and presence into physical embodiment in creation. So it carries our encryption for each dimensional level in creation. Now, each of these centers within the Katara grid, they have connection to other levels in creation. So we have and if we think of it more specifically in terms of chakras, we'd say a chakra would have two cones of energy. They would have energy flowing in, and then flowing in from our internal connections, and then flowing out through our body out into the world around us. So we'd say we have these cones of energy, the incoming and the outgoing, within, so at every level within the Katara grid, the inner and the outer, the inflow and the outflow. And now, the important thing about this polarity is that the inner and the outer, they're connected and they're balanced. So they exist in relationship to each other, and they only have meaning in relation to each other. And that, so they're in each of the chakras, in each of the centers, and so on, they are connected and they are balanced. Now, if we go to the tree of life, we find a different situation. Here we have, this is discussed a bit in some of the material that's up on the website. But I'll just go into it very briefly here. Within the Tree of Life, there are two key centers. There are centers 8, corresponding to dimension 8, and corresponding to dimension 5. So this is the inner core sun. The inner core sun, corresponding to dimension 8, inner core sun, the 8th sun. And then, so this holds within the Katara grid. The Katara grid is missing two key centers. It's missing the
8 and 12.
Yeah. Well, sorry. No, well, yeah. Sorry.
8's been relabeled though.
Yeah.
In this
Yeah.
case.
Two key
and
centers.
disconnected. There's no
Yeah,
line.
that's right. It's
Yeah.
it is missing two key connection points. One is the Azure A. The Azure A is the core connection point within the Katara grid, and that's the source connection. Like source is present to everything in creation, and it's present through the core, the central point, the core, the central point that holds core connection, and that is the Azure A within the Katara grid. So that center there is hugely significant.
Yes, because it's the memory of where we came from. It's how our consciousness enters the time matrix. And if 8 and 12 is severed, that means that a fallen being is one who has chosen into or been victimized into experiencing having no memory of where they came from and how to go home either, right?
Yeah. And the other center, key connection point is dimension 12, where the connection is held to higher levels of order within the structure. This is where you connect with the higher Katara grid. It's where we connect with the inner Eka, for example, in the Veka worlds, the inner Eka core, the Akasha core, and so on. So that's a key connection point. Now, both of those are missing. The 12 is missing there, and very importantly, the Azure A point. That's absolutely crucial, the Azure A point. Now, the 8th center, as you say, Nathan, is it is missing in most versions, in most public versions of the Tree of Life grid, but there are versions where for people who work at deep levels with the Tree of Life grid, where they do have a center 8. In other words, they have a center referred to as the 0 point, and it's called the Dayat center.
Yeah, that's actually the first time I've seen this on this diagram you have there.
Yeah. So that's the Dayat center, and that's the core sun 8 within this in this particular system. So
what they would actually be working with there would be like the reversal of the monadic core that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the energy is being pulled from there to be expressed through 6, like a vampiric kind of.
Yeah. So the energy is pulled in through that center into the Katara grid. So that is the inflow. That's the internal connection, the connection to internal creation within the Tree of Life grid. It's through this center here, which is referred to as, well, it corresponds to dimension 8 in the Katara grid, but here it's referred to as a 0 point. And it is the point of origin, the point through which connections are held into the grid. In other words, it is the connection to internal creation through the dimension 8 core sun that would correspond to that particular center. Now, the energy there's there's a symmetry between dimensions 8 and 5. Like they exist in corresponding positions in the Katara grid, and they have relationship. So there is a sympathetic relationship between this center here and this center here.
That's also where you find the 12 and 6 of the Ruche. Right?
That's right. Yeah.
That's the key line there. That's the first like emanation from the center.
Yeah. So the internal creation, then the internal connection, connection to internal creation is held through this center here in the Tree of Life grid, and then the energy is brought down to dimension 5, and then it flows out from there through the other centers in the Tree of Life grid. So this is referred to as the sun center in the Tree of Life grid, and it becomes the distribution center. It's often referred to as the Christ center in the Tree of Life grid. It has the traditional name, the Tiferet Center, but it is the center of emanation. It's the center through which things flow out into the other levels of the grid. So
also why that's modeled in our solar system and sun worship as the outer expression of source is often the source of worship, and also the reason why entropy in an open system is not necessarily the full story.
Yeah. So we here we have this is where the difference between internal and external creation arises. In other words, and the key connection between dimensions 8, like these correspond to dimensions 8 and 5 in the Katara grid. So this connection links them and transfers energy from one to the other. But in doing so, it actually combines the energies to form the reverse D13, the 5 + 8 D13 reverse current that creates the Fibonacci spiral that was used in the mechanics of causing the original split in creation. So that's discussed in more detail elsewhere. So I won't go into it in too much detail. But this is where a distinction between internal and external creation arises. And internal creation is at a higher dimensional level than external creation in this context. Ideally, they're in relationship and balanced. Here, they're not.
And also why it's an expression of, like, let's say, since long time in the past, before, recorded memory that's is typically taught, is why a patriarchal control structure society is the electrical over projection that throws everything out of balance.
Exactly. Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. So now we say internal and external creation are they exist in relationship to each other, and ideally they're balanced. They're connected and balanced. And also, as we go up through levels in creation, we experience internal and external creation differently. For example, let's just go back up here. Say, sorry. Yeah, if we go back to this level here, once we go up to the soul level, now the soul level is at the soul level we integrate, we'll say 12 physical personalities back into a soul personality, a soul consciousness, a soul family consciousness. So we'll say when we're in physical embodiment with a personality, we see the other members of our soul family as external to us. When we go up into the soul world, we see those as internal to us. Now, we expand our consciousness to encompass the whole family. And in that context, the other personalities are, sorry, there's something come up there. The other personalities in our soul family are part of ourselves. They are internal to us. And that carries on up the scale. As we go up in dimensional structure, and
then there's 12 more of your
exactly. So everything becomes both internal and external at the same time. And ultimately, we transcend the difference between internal and external. So it isn't something that we need worry too much about. But it can be useful, though, to have a perspective on how it evolves as we integrate consciousness. Okay, so see now we're here.
Yeah, that reminds me of something I learned back in the day studying hypnosis and neurolinguistic programming. Is this term, the map is not the territory.
Exactly.
So if I have a map that says, actually, this is a Walter Russell thing, which, by the way, doesn't that look a lot like a Katara grid?
Oh, absolutely, it does. Absolutely, yes.
But also all of these images we're looking at, these complex diagrams, they are ways to allow our consciousness to have a map. We know it's not literally what it is, but just to have a concept of what to work toward to experience in the internal experience to go and to expand into that. It's very accurate to know where you are, to have a map
Indeed,
that translates to give an idea of what the territory is.
That's it. Yeah, absolutely. No. The map is very useful. It's very useful image or metaphor, for what we're talking about.
Yeah, like the map behind you, for example.
That's right.
It's not literally the Earth,
Yeah,
but it gives you an idea to be like, oh, I've been there. I'm going there
That's
this time.
right. Yeah. So we just come back now to some of the the issues around the music spiral, or the harmonic spiral. But first of all, see if I can actually. I'll just switch back here to harmonics. Okay.
Yeah, here we go.
Sorry.
This is exciting. This is what I wanted to dig into with you. There's so much to go through as building blocks to get to the next layers of understanding. So
yeah. Okay, so in terms of harmony, the there are a few fundamental principles there, and if we can, once we master those principles, then everything else becomes, they make sense of everything else, really. So the harmonic principle, like, what is harmony?
And it's when the frequencies match together.
Exactly. Yeah. In an orderly way. So if we say the original expressions, or the primary expressions in creation, are we go from the calm state of pure consciousness into the oscillatory state of pure consciousness, where we begin to get waveforms. And these waveforms, they're non-localized, they're everywhere. And there's very little structure associated with them, but at the same time, the fundamental structure that they are evolving is the structure of a wave. So these waves are very important. Then, like, they underlie all of creation. Now, if we take a guitar string, for example, if we pluck a guitar string, it has a primary oscillatory mode. In other words, the string can oscillate up and down
based on the material it's made out of. It's the resonant tone, and then the length.
That's right. Yeah. The length and the strength of the chord. So it has a primary oscillation frequency, primary frequency of oscillation. Now, the other frequencies that are possible then are multiples of that, integer multiples, whole number multiples of that. In other words, the frequencies that a guitar string can emit, or that can create and project, are they are waveforms that can exist within the length of the string. In other words, you can set up an oscillation that where you have two oscillations within the length of the string. You can set up an oscillation where there are three oscillations within the length of the string. So in this case, you have a certain frequency, the fundamental frequency. Here you have twice the fundamental frequency as a harmonic. Here you have 3 times the fundamental frequency, and so on. And so the frequencies that are possible within that string then are multiples, whole number multiples of the original fundamental frequency. And so this is a principle that it carries through creation quite a bit. Now, when we're combining frequencies, the frequencies that are most harmonic are the ones that form a repeating pattern. Now, if we combine with, say, the fundamental frequency on the string with the, and this needn't even necessarily be a string, it could be, we'd say, the beating of the drum. It could also be the air in a tube.
Percussion rhythm is similar. Yeah.
And also the the oscillations, the frequency, the music tones that we say an organ tube emit, and or even the the tones that a flute
or a didgeridoo.
Exactly.
The length. Yeah.
It's the length determines the frequencies that are possible, and those frequencies then, and plus there are multiples, they create the individual tones that the instrument can provide. Now, when we plug a string, we will primarily get the basic frequency, but we will also get certain amounts of the higher frequencies. They will happen naturally, and they are the elements that give a certain characteristic to a particular musical note. So if we have a guitar string and plug a particular frequency on it, we'll get particular.
And I hit the fretboard and I shorten it.
Yeah.
I'm changing the length.
Yeah, but if we do that same thing with if we play that very same note on a wind instrument, for example, we get slightly different combinations of these frequencies. So it'll be the same tone, but same fundamental tone, but it will have different combinations of the harmonics. So that gives the coloring of the particular instrument. Okay, so the principle then is to create repeating patterns, consistently repeating patterns. So if we play, if we take the fundamental tone, the wavelength, and we combine it with the second harmonic, now the two of those will fit together within the space of the two of these will fit within the space of the fundamental. So we can combine these two, and they will create a repeating pattern, a consistently repeating pattern. And this is illustrated in these diagrams here. We have the fundamental, we have, we'll say twice the fundamental frequency, we combine them, and then we get this red pattern. And this repeats every cycle, consistently repeats every cycle. So it's not that different from the fundamental frequency, not that different, much different.
That's also like what is modern day referred to as a binaural beat.
Yeah.
That is used for brainwave. It's when the pattern of the combined frequencies have a harmonic between them.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So that is why the simplest harmonic relationship is 1 and 2. They are the combination. That combination of numbers is the most harmonic. So multiplication by 2 is fundamentally harmonic, and is the most harmonic relationship that is possible. So that is
and that's why a catharogrid being the square root of 2 for how they nest inside each other.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, and we'd say every 90 degrees. So if you take a catharogrid through 90 degrees. Take it through 45 degrees, you get root 2. But if you take it through 90 degrees, you get to 2. And the catharogrid itself is 2 to 1. Like proportions are 2 to 1. So if you nest them and rotate them, like every 90 degrees, you get 2. And so it's 90-degree angle of rotation that is of most interest. And so, for example, in the golden mean spiral and Fibonacci spiral and so on, every 90 degrees, the spiral expands by the golden mean ratio,
which is 1.618, I think.
1.618, yeah. And then for every 45 degrees, it's the square root of 1.618. Likewise, the crystal spiral expands by 2 for every 90 degrees, or it expands by root 2 for every 45 degrees.
Which is so much simpler math. It's just so much more elegant and structured.
It is, yeah. So anyway, so that illustrates the importance of the octave. Now, the next most powerful harmonic relationship is if we bring the number 3 into play. Now, if we combine 3 with the fundamental, we get this pattern here. Now, in this case, and generally, we can combine various notes. Now, we can combine these frequencies, these repeating frequencies, in any combination of number. So if we combine, we say a tone with say a quarter, or we say 5/4 times the frequency, so we will get a repeating pattern where for every 4 cycles of the slower frequency and every 5 cycles of the higher frequency, notice they will overlap. Notice 4 of the slow frequency plus 5 cycles of the higher frequency, they will overlap and they'll form a repeating pattern within that space. so we do get harmonic relationship, for other numbers, not order number combinations, but the simpler the ratio, the more consistent the repeating pattern is, the more powerful it is. And so that is the fundamental principle in harmonics. Now, okay, so I'll just switch again here to.
Oh, right. I remember this claim is that even every digit, like here to here is 1.618, here to here, here to the wrist, wrist to elbow, like, but it's not. It's
Yeah,
not. So like I
no.
did a bunch of work on this 25 years
Yeah,
ago in my
of
life at a
course.
research center. It's
Yeah,
just the claim,
It's just claim. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, so this we say frequency expands naturally by multiplication. In other words, we say we have two forms of expansion. One is stair step, where the increments are equal, like the steps of the stairs. As you go up the stairs, like the individual steps are equal. Now that's addition. In other words, where we add the steps add up as you go up into greater height. Now the other form of growth or of increase is where the steps increase in proportion to the height that we are. In other words, the higher we go, the bigger the steps get. So that the steps then are in proportion to the particular height. In other words, the rate of growth is proportional to the state of growth.
Which is exponential. Aaron was talking about that earlier.
Yeah. So that is the process of multiplication, and repeated addition is multiplication. Repeated multiplication is exponentiation. So we're talking about exponential growth. So frequencies increase most naturally on an exponential path. So it is actually the crystal spiral is the expansion that describes is exponential. It is an exponential spiral. So we'll say these. So the most natural means for depicting these frequencies is actually an exponential spiral. Now this isn't the crystal spiral per se. It's an octave spiral. Now the octave spiral expands by a factor of 2 every complete rotation. The crystal spiral expands by a factor of 2 for every 90 degrees. So the most powerful harmonics are those on the scale of 2. We go from the core here, 1, 2, and then go up by 4. Every step increased by 4. 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, and so on. So we push the octave spiral on this 12 o'clock line. Now we divide the we wish to divide the those octaves into sub frequencies to identify sub frequencies within that to create musical scale. Now the next most powerful harmonic relationship is where we introduce the number 3. Now if we say we go from 2, expand from 2, create a spiral loop, and go all the way out. The next, when you come up here, we're up to 4. Now, as we go from 2 to 4, and we go from 1 to 2, we go from 2 to 4, we go from 4 to 8, and we go increase by 2 each step. Now, in going from 2 to 4, for example, now 3 is in between. So if we multiply by a factor of 3, it will take us around here. It doesn't take us all, 4 will take us around to here. So 3 will land us on an intermediate point. Now, fortuitously, that intermediate point coincides with what we would call the 12 o'clock position, 7 o'clock position on a clock line. In other words, it's 7/12 of the way around.
7/12. Gotcha. So okay.
Divided into 12 segments, then 7 segments will correspond to the 3 position. In other words, this is 2. Or sorry, I should be using this spiral, this loop. This is 2. This is bigger than 2, bigger than 2, bigger than 2, and then it reaches 3 here. And then a continuous increasing tree all the way up to 4 here. So the tree, if we multiply by 3, it is a harmonic relationship. It is a powerful harmonic relationship. Not as powerful as 2, but still powerful. So that creates a position on the clock diagram that marks out the 7 o'clock position. Now, it's very easy to prove, but we'd have to use logarithms.
Then on the blue line, it would happen again over on the 4.
Yeah, if we were to multiply 4,
yeah, between 4 and I see. It would be here on the 7 again because it's between 4. Where's the 5? Wait, 4 and 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, would be the 7. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the 6.
7/12.
Yeah, 7/12.
I'm doing my best to wrap my consciousness around this here.
Now, if we had more time, it'd be possible to go through the mathematics of it. The mathematics of it are not complex, and so they explain it exactly. But it lands on the 7 o'clock clock line, go to within less than 3/1000 of a person, less than 1 in 3,000. No, it lands very accurately on or reasonably accurately, not exactly, but reasonably accurately on the 7 o'clock position. So, when we develop this spiral, we have the octave boundaries going up here. Now, every time we move out along, and once we create this spiral, every time we move out along one of these lines, we're doubling. As we're doubling and going out, we're doubling going up here. We're doubling 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, and so on. And likewise, whatever numbers here, we're doubling it out here, we're doubling it out here, and so on. So every line is, every radius represents a doubling. So all of these harmonics, all of these notes are multiples, double multiples of the inner notes. So all of these notes are highly harmonic. In other words, these clock lines map harmonics on this spiral structure. So now, when we multiply by 3, which does create a significant degree of harmony, we get, first of all, it takes us out to this. It takes us through 7 clock lines, 7 clock lines on this clock diagram. Now, if we multiply by 3 again from this point, it'll take us 7 clock lines further on to 2. Repeat the process again, and it will take us, we proceed further, 7 multiplied by 3 here, and it will take us around to, sorry, I shouldn't have done that. Anyway,
Control Z.
Yeah, it'll take us around to 9. Notice from 2 to 9, we had 7, 2 to 9. And then from 9, it'll take us around to 16, which is 4 o'clock, and so on. So if we repeat this process of 3, we actually map out all the positions on the clock line. So 3 actually, the number 3, 2 creates the octaves, and 3 creates a division of the octaves into 12 notes. In other words, it creates the clock lines. So
I noticed there's a lot of it's not coincidental, it's the alignment of different terms, like how there's a lot of, woo-woo new age teachings where, it's all about 9, or it's all about 7, or but they're all different harmonics in the in the octave spiral.
Yeah. So let's see if there's another diagram down here. Circle of fifths. No, that's not. Okay, maybe this diagram here. So yeah. Okay, so so this is just an indication of the importance of the different tones. So we have the octaves on this line here. We have these very important notes here on this line, this line here, and this is referred to as the fifth note. Now, we say within the clock lines, some of the clock line positions are quite harmonic, and there's some of them that aren't. So usually, for music purposes, where you're looking for harmonic notes, you will pick the most harmonic notes, and that's what has happened. The music scales don't use all of the 12 clock line positions. It only uses the octave plus the 7 other most harmonic tones to create just 8 notes within an octave, including the octave boundary, or 7 notes apart from the octave boundary. So this is where we get the conventional music annotation of the notes. This is the second, the third. These are the harmonic notes. The second, this is we'd say the first, the second, the third, the fourth. And this here is described as the fifth note in the harmonic sequence of notes within an octave, sixth, seventh, and then back up to the octave. So this is described as the fifth. And so if we repeat that process of creating the fifth, so jumping 7 steps around each time, we will recreate the clock structure. And that process of doing that is referred to as the circle of fifths.
Circle of fifths.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So now, so the number 3,
which is then, that 3-to-2 ratio.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh.
So if we multiply by 3 and we come back in along the line, we will say 3. If we start off here, multiply by 3, it will take us out. Sorry, if we start here, if we we say go from 2 here to 4 here. Now 3 would actually take us. Sorry, I'm not explaining that very well. We're saying going from here to here, multiply by a factor of 2. We say if we go from
one full rotation,
1 full rotation to 2 here. Now 2 to 4, if we go all the way around, if we multiply by 3, it'll actually take us to we say 3 over 2. 3 takes us out, takes us through many steps on the octave spiral, and then 2 brings us back in 1 step to give us. We say we're going from 1 to 2. So we want to stay within that range. So we want to divide the range between 1 and 2 into 12 steps.
And you know what I'm reminded of, Noel? There's this phrase of like what life feels like is 3 steps forward, 2 steps back.
Yeah.
That's expressed in like a terminology, which is
that's right. Yeah. So 3 steps, like if you go out the full 3, it takes you too far out. It takes you beyond 2, and then if you divide it by 2, it brings you back into a number that sits between 1 and 2. So we'll say 3 would be beyond 2, but 3 over 2 by 1.5 is actually between the 2. Yeah. So that's where the ratio of 3 over 2 comes into play.
Okay.
Yeah. So the way I explained there is a little bit confusing, but that's effectively what's being done. It's using number 3, but then scaling it down by a factor of 2 to actually fit within the scale. So the 3 over 2 is a fundamental harmonic relationship that's second in importance to the 2-to-1 relationship. Yeah. So 2-to-1 is the most powerful. 3-to-2, i.e. 1.5 to 1, is the second most important.
And which is the harmonic and the octave relationship.
That's right. Yeah. So that subdivides the octave cycle into 12 12 segments, and it creates a sequence of notes, subnotes within the octave. And then the most harmonic tones are selected out from that to create a scale. And the numbers are the harmonic notes are given names. Now, oddly enough, we have the most harmonic notes are here. Now, this position here.
Wait, the vertical line, you mean? Is that what you're illustrating?
Yeah, the vertical line there. That's the octave. They're all octaves.
But only the top half of it, right?
Yeah, only the top half of it. Yeah, the octave boundary. Now, the lower half then is the halfway point in terms of rotation. Okay. Now, those particular notes then are they are multiples by the square root of 2 of the octave notes. So we multiply by 2 to go all the way around. We multiply by the square root of 2 to go halfway around. It's a half-step multiplication.
Yeah.
So that's where the root 2 comes in. Now, these notes then are the square root of 2. And the square root of 2 doesn't create a repeating pattern. Because it's an infinite decimal that goes on forever. And it's a pattern that never repeats itself.
Yep. It's the same function of the math in relativity. It takes twice the amount of energy to go half as fast increase as you're already moving. Especially if you're just burning fuel and spitting it out the back, you know?
I know, yeah. So this is referred to as the tritone. The tritone, and it is fundamentally disharmonic.
Wait, can you explain that? I want to understand what you just meant there. It is fundamentally disharmonic.
Yeah,
because it's the opposing side of the...
it's not so much that it's opposing. It's a halfway step in multiplication of 2. So it's a multiple of square root of 2 from these numbers.
Okay.
These numbers multiply with the square root of 2. Now the square root of 2 doesn't repeat itself. It's an infinite expansion of numbers. There isn't like we'd say 3 over 2, 1 over we'd say 2 to 1, 2 to 1. We'd say a half. That's the ratio of 2 to 1. Like that repeats itself very, very, very frequently and easily. 3 over 2, 3 to 2 repeats itself fairly powerfully as well. So all of these are characterized by whole number ratios. Now, the square root of 2 cannot be expressed as a ratio between two whole numbers.
Oh, of course it cannot. So that would be exactly why halfway there kind of doesn't really exist. It's disharmonic.
Yeah. So it's fundamentally disharmonic. And when Pythagoreans were studying these issues, once they realized that the square root of 2 is fundamentally disharmonic, like that was a major
That's a game breaker right there.
That was a game breaker. That was right. Yeah. I think that's the person who discovered it was either sworn to secrecy or else, he was punished in some way. Like
Who was it? Who was it? What was the name?
Well, it was the Pythagoreans. The Pythagoras group.
Yeah, the Pythagoreans. But who was the one that was punished?
I don't know. I
thought there was a specific name in there. I'm sorry.
No, there is. I'm not familiar with the name, but there was a particular person who discovered this. And that was a big scandal, a big game changer.
Well, they're like, here's your glass of hemlock. Go away, please.
I know. Yeah. So that's created a lot of upset at the time. But basically, it's referred to as a tritone. It's fundamentally disharmonic. Now, it is used in some, like, it is a counterbalance. Like, this is perfect harmony, or the highest degree of harmony. And so this is disharmony. So we have the polarity balance between the two here along these lines. So like in in sort of church music and the chanting and so on. We're very
Mhm.
careful to avoid this frequency.
Mhm.
It's just something
And that's
taboo.
like all the organs built into the walls in these ancient cathedrals
Mm.
always will miss that.
That's right. Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
the
yeah.
distorted versions where they add in, they're like a
Mm.
non-Krystic harmony scale, are like, yeah, let's hit that button more often.
I know. Yeah, 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 yeah. Anyway, so that puts the different notes in relationship. So that illustrates the importance of numbers 1, 2, and 3. Now, the number 4 is just a repetition of 2, and the next most important number is 5. Um, in terms of creating ratios, the ratio of 5 to 3 or 5 to 2, 5 to 3, or we'll say 5 to 4. Well, 5 to 4 is similar to 5 to 2 because the 5 to 4 and 5 to 2 ratios are in 2 to 1 relationship, which are very close. In other words, they would be very similar to each other. So anyway, that creates the that's how the music scale is structured. So this particular clock diagram then is a very natural way for dividing up the musical tones. It's a very natural way for representing them. It represents them in a manner that's consistent with the structure of the fundamental structure of the sound frequencies. So harmony then, we say all the notes along a particular clock line are in 2 to 1 ratio, so they are fundamentally harmonic with each other.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah. So harmony then is the primary measure or indicator for harmony then are notes that sit on the same line. And the second thing then is the second factor in harmony is where we bring in the 3 and we create the first of all the 3 and then the 3 over 2, the 3 over 2 ratio between 1 and 2. And that ratio then divides the clock line, divides the octave into 12 equally spaced notes, and creates the octave scale, the scale of notes within an octave.
And expressed as linear frequency, like you were showing before, the harmonics is where those match up.
Yeah.
Where those points match up. This is just a spiral diagram to demonstrate that as well.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
I wish I was a musician and I could be like, I could pull out a guitar and be like, it sounds like this, what you're talking about. Bing, ding, dong, you know?
Yeah.
I don't have that skill set though.
No, neither do I.
You know, guys, I have to go and pick up my daughter, but I just wanted to say thank you, and I hope we can do this again soon.
Oh,
And
yes.
I'm anxious to listen to the rest of whatever you guys are going to say.
Yeah.
Okay, Aaron. So great to catch up, and take care of yourself.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
And lovely to catch up. Yeah. Take care now. Yeah.
Yeah. Aaron's so awesome. This is great. I kind of feel like we're coming to like a full, like, I want to dig deeper, but maybe it's best we save it for another day. I don't know. What do you want to go into next? Because those Krystic music scales and the charts for them, even just one in the lower right there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Once we map them out linearly, like these are octaves, and we say they scale up by a factor of 2. We'll say 1, 2, 4, 8, and so on up along. And then if we stack them up, stack the higher octaves over the lower ones, we find that the octave boundaries, in other words, the 12-fold division of the octaves actually mirrors the 12-fold division within the octave actually mirrors the structure of the octaves themselves as they build up. In other words, there is a high degree of alignment.
A high degree of alignment. That's a beautiful phrase. Yes.
Yeah. So we would say the harmonics, like the harmonies are harmonic in relationship to each other, but they're also harmonic in relation. There are also harmonic in relation to the other octaves below them.
Mm-hmm. Which is also another, like, I love that the term density for 3 dimensions is also referred to as a harmonic universe.
That's right.
Because it
Yeah.
contains what is within it on the next layer up.
That's
in
right.
this
That's right.
similar
That's
relationship,
right.
right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Now, so the next, like this isn't complete. Like there's still a lot that can be explored, that can be developed, but it's really a question of whether that is timely or whether it's appropriate to do it. And like like I may not be in a position to contribute very much more to it. Knows it may be the case that there's other people would take it up and
me. Can I?
Take the next step. Now, the next step in well, just to add to what we're saying here about the notes, the circle of fifths actually creates the subdivision of the octave cycle into 12 segments, but it's not exact.
It's not exact. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
In other words, as we do that process, so as we go 7 segments on, or 7 hours on in each cycle, we're building up a small error. In other words, it isn't in exact alignment with the 7 o'clock position. It's within about 1/4%. Fairly close, but it's not exact. Now,
is that kind of similar to how the way that we measure years, we have to add a leap every 4 years? It's not exactly 24 hours. There's a little bit of a, is that similar?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's somewhat similar. Yeah. There's a cumulative error.
Okay.
And as you repeatedly, as you repeat the circle of fifths, to create all 12 positions, in other words, you go around 12 times, so the error is magnified by a factor of 12. It becomes more noticeable then.
Yeah.
So there is progressive misalignment. And so this is there's a name for the error that accumulates. It's called the Pythagorean comma. In other words, it is just a slight mismatch. So what has been done?
COMMA, you mean?
Yeah. I don't know why.
Not the Oxford comma.
No. I don't know. I don't know why they call it that. But so there are various solutions that people have done. One is to actually divide the octave cycle exactly into 12 segments. And in other words, that's actually easy to do. We just take the frequencies, the frequency band within an octave, and we divide it up into 12 segments using logarithms rather than dividing it up, just dividing by the number 12.
Instead of exponents, you use logarithms to do it?
It's the same thing. Logarithms and exponents are the same thing. They're just reverse of each other. Like you take a logarithm of a number.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. They were just reverse of each other.
Yeah,
exactly. Logarithmic scale is reverse of exponential. Okay.
Scale, exactly. Yeah. So they're just mathematical tools for dealing with these realities. So the most common approach that's used for a lot of music is that it's the octave scale is divided up into 12 exactly equal segments. Now that gives you notes that are they're not exactly whole number multiples. So there's a slight deviation from a perfect harmonic relationship. So that gives what they refer to as an equal temper scale.
Equal temper scale.
Yeah. Where the frequency differences between the different clock lines is exactly the same for all of them. So the value of that is that it allows you to transpose music up and down the scale with great ease. Because if you
the transposition scale has no deviation
no
as it
no
grows. Yeah.
That's right.
Actually,
So
that's exactly what transposition means too.
So that creates we say like a lot of modern musical instruments are tuned that way. It's very easy to handle in practice, and but it does mean that there are slight deviations from perfect harmony or from good harmony. So it sort of slightly muddies the the tones. Now the alternative is to try to come up with ratios that are fairly close to the the actual equal temper. And there are various ways of doing that. So in the crystal scale, we have divided it up using whole numbers. Now, if we were to use the the equal temper, just divide them up into exactly 12 equal sections, these would not be whole numbers. There would be.
Is that at 3? Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
I see.
this here is
Yeah.
3 over 2. This here is 4 over 3, 5 over 4.
I was looking at 3. It's just 3-digit numbers. They're still whole though. Yeah.
Yeah. So these are frequencies. You're just taking the thing out through several degrees or several octaves up into frequencies that are more commonly used in sound. So we have the music scales coming into play here, where we're getting up into scales that are actually used in music. So we can, like the Pythagoreans, they come up with integer ratios or whole number ratios for the notes, and they come up with a Pythagorean scale, which it does preserve the harmony, but it doesn't have the convenience of exactly equal spacing. So
which is harder to make an instrument like a piano to reflect if you do that, right?
Yeah. So so it makes it more difficult then to transpose music, because you will have slight errors as you go up through the scale. The errors will multiply. So so then it's a question of compromise then.
I'm curious what your opinion on that is. Like, what is the reason to compromise? To make it fit the math, to make it whole numbers, or to make the expression of an instrument be, I don't know, more Krystic in its, I don't know. What is?
The equal temper is a matter of convenience.
Okay.
Whereas the harmonic, if we take the whole number ratios, we preserve the harmonic purity. We preserve more of the harmonic purity.
Which makes more sense. Preserving the harmonic purity seems like a more vertically aligned kind of function. Yeah.
But
it is far less convenient.
So there are these compromises. So we say on the piano, then we have the keys corresponding to the primary notes, the harmonic notes, and then the other notes that are not so harmonic. The ones with the very high ratios. Now, this in its pure form is fundamentally disharmonic, but we can get a ratio that's close enough to the actual frequency value that does preserve some harmony. In other words, it tames the disharmony to a degree. So the simpler the ratio, the purer the harmony. The more complex the ratio, it isn't. The weaker the harmony. So it is possible then to come up with a sequence of ratios that will preserve the harmony to a degree, to try and space the notes out as equally as possible around the scale, around the clock face. So that is a question of compromise, and it can be compromised in different ways for different purposes. Now, we'd say in practice, the harmonic notes, there are 7 harmonic notes taken out, and they're used in most music scales. The other notes, the disharmonic notes, are ignored, but in some cases, like, there is focus on the disharmonic notes. It's a balance between harmony and disharmony, and some people actually,
there always is.
yeah, so some people actually work with and value the disharmony. Now, let's see if I have a diagram back here. I haven't. No.
Look at this beautiful collection of slides you've built.
Yeah. So, sorry. And see if I have the diagram here.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the Emerald 24 site of yours has all of these images on it, just not in a linear.
Yeah, I think it has. Yeah, I think it has. Yeah, sorry, I haven't got the diagram that I'm looking for in this set. Now, comparison. Take this one. You just go back to this one here, for example. So now, the next, like, we've been working with the ratios, the numbers 2, 1, 2, and 3 primarily. Now, the next number, the next significant number is 5. In terms of, like, the prime numbers have a particular value. Like 4, for example, is just a repetition of 2. Its behavior is defined by the number 2. So it's just 2 repeats. So 5 is a unique number. In other words, it has its own characteristics. Now, I do believe that the next stage of development is to work with that number 5 to bring in a new, like, if we take the dimensional structure, for example, we have the 4 density levels of the matter fields with their 12 dimensions. Now, the next stage of development beyond that is into density 5. And
how does it relate to that? Wow.
And density 5 actually bridges connection from the matter fields into the sound fields. So the 5 then is actually it's potentially a very powerful number.
That makes sense why 5 is anomalous in that situation, if it's also representative of density 5, where even time and experience doesn't work in the same linear fashion in the time matrix that we experience. Right?
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. So if you think of 5 then as a number that bridges connection from the matter fields to the primal sound fields. So that has the possibility to bring us into the realm of interdimensional sound. In other words,
wow. Yeah.
In other words, that and like it is known that sound is a very powerful tool. If it's used in that space, but it's very powerful, but also it's something that must be guarded.
Yes, it must be guarded. That's what I was thinking too, is there's a lot of this information as it's been dispensed over, I don't know, since, I guess it started with the Voyager's books and Yesha's first teachings and all that stuff, but it's been structured and ordered in a way. And even the people that went to workshops for the purpose of doing grid work, the information that came out that day or that hour was off of, okay, it's safe to do this now. It's safe to give the information. Because
that's right. Yeah.
If the math were just all there and presented, it'd probably be used by nefarious influence. So
yeah. So there always is that that concern that there is divine right order and divine right timing, and that information would follow that there would be a time when it's right, and it isn't right until it is right.
Yep.
So everything in its own good time, as it were. But my feeling is that though that it is possible to use the 5 to actually, if we combine the like we're extracting 7 notes for most of the musical scales. Now, if we look at the 15-dimensional universe, so we have the 12 dimensions of the matter fields represented by the Katara grid, and then we have the expansion then in bridging connection then through the primal light fields, which add another 3 dimensions, create a 15-dimensional structure. And it's then the number 5 then creates that that additional density level. So if we want to go beyond we say the 12 into the 15, that gives us the possibility of having 2 groups of 7 linked by linking, the 15 linking 2 groups of 7 below it. 2 groups of 7. In other words, now bringing in 5, like if we bring in an extra 3 notes associated with 5, that would expand the scale to 15 notes, and the additional notes would be transharmonic notes that would link, like the role of the primal light fields bridging connection from the matter fields up into the higher sound fields and higher levels of pure consciousness. That that these 3 notes could serve a similar role, that they would harmonize the disharmony that is present in the music scale at the moment.
I wonder maybe in, let's just say, divine right timing, as it would be expressed, would that knowledge and our ability to understand that also shift and maybe change the experience of the disharmony that we can understand and experience through math?
Exactly.
And the reality fields themselves are shifting as we embody this knowledge. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So there is a more complete version of all of this that takes it to another level, and it's really a question of when and whether that is appropriate.
Wow, that is, yeah. That's a little.
I know.
That's the thought for my day. I'm gonna have to take a couple naps and let this go vertical and try to integrate it.
I know. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So anyway, that's just a quick overview of that. Now there are a few other things that we could explore, but it's probably better not to do because we've
I think we're at 2 hours and 43 minutes in.
We are, yeah.
Aaron and I put in 2 hours prior, so
yeah. Actually, there's one other thing that I could have explained, and that is the relationship between the the crystal spiral, which is expansion by 2, and the exponential spiral.
Oh, sure. Let's go into that.
No. I won't go through it now because it's quite it's quite detailed. It would take it would take us into a bit of mathematics. But the exponential spiral, the exponential spiral, and its associated number. You're familiar with the number E? The exponential number 2.718. That is the natural the element that governs. It is the number that governs exponential growth that underlies all natural growth processes, and that is probably the most powerful number in mathematics. That is directly related to number 2. It's possible to step from from the progression of 2 in the crystal spiral to the exponential number. It's actually done
Wow.
in
Okay.
so that takes us into the very heart of mathematics.
Yeah, that
So
is at the heart of math.
yeah, it's written up in some of the, the notes that I have there, but it's a little bit too heavy to go into at this stage.
Yeah. Well, maybe next time
Yeah,
we can
yeah,
do
yeah.
a deep dive into that, because I find that very interesting. I'm not a mathematician, so I'm not going to pretend to be like, oh, that all made complete sense to me.
I know. Yeah.
But you're just, Noel, you are so amazing at distilling and communicating the transcendent to the elementary.
Well, thanks very much, Nathan. But like, I'm not doing anything that anybody that's like we're all capable of.
We all are.
Yeah, and it's just a
Yeah.
question of rebuilding the connections within ourselves, and
Mm-hmm.
like we're all capable of doing our own doing the job as we're
Mm-hmm.
doing the job as appropriate to what we're doing here.
Yeah.
So like I don't have anything that anybody else that everybody else isn't capable of doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just building connection and holding them and
Building and holding that vertical connection. The more that I do that, the more I realize that every time I learn, it's the exact same as remembering.
exactly. Yeah,
We
yeah.
all have this. It's in our templates. It's in our
yeah.
codes.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
I'm not special in any way at all.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think you're pretty special, though.
well,
Give yourself some credit, brother.
we're all special in our own way.
Yes.
And we're all equally
Indeed.
special.
Indeed.
Yeah. Okay, Nathan. So it was great to catch up, and yeah. So the best luck with all the work you're doing. We're running out of steam. We're at the other end of the cycle, as it were. Like, and so you're the generation that's taking over and and taking the show forward.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm so honored to know you and to be, I don't know, just to show up as a willing student, to be able to learn from you and to be able to hold the torch, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, the whole thing sort of evolves in the space between us. Like it
Mm-hmm.
takes the interaction to create the
Mm-hmm.
to bring stuff into that space.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks very much, Nathan, for for connecting up, and and the best luck with all you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. It's my
And
pleasure, my friend. Anytime that we get the time to sync up together, it's
yeah,
just, I'm absolutely overjoyed. Thank you so
yeah,
much for your time. And
yeah.
I know it's very late there, so have a wonderful night. And
Indeed, yes.
and we'll see each other next time around.
Yeah, absolutely. Next time around. And so as the old saying goes, namaste.
Namaste. I
Namaste.
prefer aloha, which is
Aloha. Yeah, exactly.
live in love and gratitude. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I should have stopped sharing there.
Oh, that's okay. I think the diagrams are more interesting sometimes than our floating heads on the Zoom call.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is great though.
Yeah.
I'll send you the recordings and emails and stuff, and after I get edits done and stuff, and share with the posting. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah. Right. Well,
Okay.
thank you too. Yeah.
Okay.
So take care now.
Have a good night, Noel. Aloha,
You
brother.
too. Aloha. Yeah.